Welcome, Mama, to the Postpartum Coach Podcast. Finally, a podcast dedicated just to the mental and emotional world of us postpartum women. I am your friend, fellow mama, and postpartum life coach, Lizzie Langston. After intense birth trauma, delivering my first child, and really scary mental health crises following the birth of my second and third baby, I set off on a 6-year journey to understand postpartum mental health from the inside out. On this podcast, I bring you, as a mom of 4 and a certified postpartum life coach, the tools you need to avoid mental health crashes, to get out of the postpartum rut, and to embrace a vivacious motherhood that you love from the inside out. Let's get you feeling like yourself again, Mama, and welcome to the Postpartum Coach Podcast. Hi, mamas. Welcome back to the Postpartum Coach Podcast this week. If you're new here, I just want to give you a huge warm welcome. I'm opening my arms literally in my little office. Hug to you. Thank you for being here. And honestly, thank you guys for sharing with your friends, or I don't know what you're doing, but we're just flourishing. So I really appreciate the support, and just know that this is so fun for me to be here with you. So if you're new here, my name is Lizzie. I am a mom to 4 kids. I had my first 3 in about 4 years or so, and then had a big 6-year break, and then had my baby Ren just this last year. And so she's getting close to 14 months now. And I'm finally feeling like I'm in the rhythm of being a mom of 4. Right? It takes a long time sometimes. Every time. I know you know. So yeah, I just want to let you give yourself a little hug, pat on the back right now. Just take a moment. I want you to pause what you're doing and remind yourself that you are doing so much better than you think you are, and that you will look back on this time and wish that you had been more graceful and kind to yourself. And as you get older and you see this busy, sort of exhausting season, it lends itself to being exhausting. I wouldn't say it is exhausting. As you look back on this time, you really will treasure some parts of it. So if you're in a moment in your motherhood where it just feels shitty, it just feels, maybe it's monotonous, maybe you are just truly not that happy right now, I want you to know that I've been there. Maybe you are concerned about yourself. Maybe you are basically numb and don't even know how your true self is doing because it's been so long that you've checked in on her because you're truly just really trying to survive. So wherever this episode finds you, I just want to remind you that so many other women are feeling these same things. We're all just experiencing them together. It's as if we're all just part of one big consciousness that's just sort of like pinched off, and it gives us the illusion that we're all separate. But ultimately, when you get into communities like the postpartum coach community I run with women who are postpartum, and you start openly sharing, or even just being a fly on the wall and listening to other women share, you start to realize that like separation really is an illusion. Literally, the mom that you see at the grocery store that looks like she has it all together is still struggling with something. There's something hard for all of us. And when it comes to postpartum, there's just nobody that I love helping more. There's no pain that I know so well, because I have had 4 kids, and I went through the deepest, darkest depression. It wasn't the depression that was so dark. It was the absolute confusion and mysticism, like mystifiedness that I felt around what I was experiencing. I didn't even have language to let alone speak about it and ask for support. And so it was as if somebody cut off one of my limbs. My personality as I knew it, my typical rhythm and role in my family and in my extended family and my society was totally different. People who knew me well didn't really know how to be around me because I wasn't really being like me. And it was a combination of embarrassing and paralyzing and alarming and devastating, because now my favorite people in the whole world, my children, were suddenly super toxic for me to be around. Not that they are toxic. I was lacking boundaries. I was lacking a concept of who I was as a human. My self-concept was almost non-existent at that time. And this was after, getting married and having kids. I just grew up in a family that had a really strong sense of like, this is who we are, this is what we do. And I never thought to question it. And my depression and anxiety were my body calling me to follow the internal breadcrumbs to find out who I really am and what I'm really here to accomplish on this earth. And that is not to say, to disparage my family of origin, which I love, whom I love and is extremely beautiful. And within the context of that family, I, as an individual, had some reckoning to do with and finding to do with who I am, as we all really should. That's healthy. So there's a little background on who I am and what I'm here doing in the world. There's a few ways that you can work with me if you're curious and interested. So the first and most DIY way is I have an online course. It's just called the Postpartum Freedom, the course. And you can just get that at lizzieLangston.com/course. I also have at lizzieLangston.com/class. I think it's like $23 or something like that. And it's a great first step as well to get to know some of the nervous system tools that I teach and just to get my vibe and some really great tools for your emotional toolkit, if you will. And then I've got a ton of free resources. So if you're new here, listen up, because if you just go to lizzieLangston.com, you'll see a lot of free stuff. You can go to lizzieLangston.com/work with me. But really just go any of these places I just mentioned, just Lizzie Langston, LIZZIE, and help yourself. There is a free mini course called Get Out of the Postpartum Rut that a lot of women find really helpful. And then my favorite program that I'm doing right now is my membership program. And it's just a chill, small community of honest, authentic women being real about their struggles in a safe space, honoring each other, supporting one another, but not sugarcoating it and cheerleading in like an unhelpful, overly positive kind of a way. But that sort of authentic, like you really feel them cheering you on because you know they've walked the same pain that you're in. So it doesn't feel empty. It feels genuinely encouraging. And I'm so proud of each of those women in there. And I'm proud of us as a group and the rhythm of sharing and asking questions and taking space, right? It's not like we're talking all day. It's not one of those overwhelming chit-chatty groups. Taking space to remember to go inward and listen. We're all doing the work. The practice is in our bodies, right? Getting back to living embodied, getting back to understanding what your symptoms or your signals from your body are telling you. So if you want to live like that, if you want to make it a practice to be in your body, to be attuned to your nervous system and your sense of attachment and safety to other humans, and really just be on top of your mental and emotional game in life and your thrivingness as an adult woman, I welcome you. You can go to lizzieLangston.com minimalism.com/community. And we are small and mighty and really loving it in there. We do calls on an as-needed basis as a group. I sometimes randomly check on people with one-on-one little chit-chats just to check in on them. And then there's a chat group inside of my client app. It's not my client app. It's an app called Voxer. So again, LizzieLangston.com/community. Today, I wanted to share with you guys what this summer was like for me. So, if you're doing your dishes, if you're drinking hot cocoa with a candle and your feet are up, whatever you're doing, if you're driving, wiping butts, I just want you to know that this is so fun for me to get to be with you. And I'm pretending that I'm with you right now and just listen to my voice and know that you're just not alone today. We're going to have a good time. So the reason I wanted to tell you about my quiet summer is because so much happened on the inside of me, my lens through which I see myself and the world, my orientation to this planet and to the family that I come from and the family that I'm surrounded by and the family that I've created and the business that I have here in the world. All of it changed so drastically that I just thought I'd share. I'm going to keep some details less available just for privacy, but I wanted to share some really, the timeline. I wanted to share the timeline and give you a peek into what I was experiencing because it's definitely impacted me. And then in episodes coming up, in forthcoming episodes, that's such an old, funny word. In forthcoming episodes, I will be sharing more about some of the specifics that I mentioned in this one. So in May of this past year, 2024, I did a launch. Some of you guys were there, by the way, and thank you for coming. It was so incredible on my experience of this. And when I say I did a launch, what I just mean is I have this membership, right? And I just was like, I'm going to pay a bunch of money to gather a new and old audience of postpartum women, through some Facebook advertisement. So I invested in that. And then I invested in some back-end stuff and had a couple people helping me. And then we put together this incredible free, 3-day training thing. It was so good. And a couple people have purchased the online course from that. A couple people joined the membership. So all of it was so fun. But it also epically failed. So there was this unforeseen, my little team of 2 other moms and myself, we prepared so diligently. We have such a big heart to serve postpartum women. Both of these women have struggled deeply postpartum and they just absolutely love the vision of this company and what I do in the world. So it was such an honor to have them. And we did our best to prepare for everything. And there was just an unforeseen thing where I had this live call with all these people I'd paid to, give attention to and have their attention. And it was just beautiful to be there with them. And then the call ended so early because they did give me a 15-minute warning, but I was only, barely halfway through an hour and a half long call. So yeah, needless to say, that was a bummer. And then just couldn't really get as many people on the subsequent calls that I rescheduled. And the good news is it really all is fine because what I've come to understand is that sometimes failure is the universe's way of screaming at us. And the bigger the failure, the bigger the message is of are you really doing what you want to do? Are you really doing this your way? Does this really feel good to you? Were you born for this type of an experience and giving this type of an experience in the world? What you're doing isn't aligned. And so normally if I didn't feel all that stuff, I would just be all right, that sucked. I would process it and get back to no big deal. I don't need to feel bad for myself. If it's right, you just do it no matter what. But there was something about it that wasn't, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And honestly, I think that information is still to come. But what I realized is that it was more after about a couple of weeks of me processing, because it was thousands of dollars. To just give a little bit of perspective, it was, my little pile of cash that I had saved up for something like this. And it felt like it was just all wasted. And but what happened is I listened, I could feel my body, my inner heart, whatever you want to call it, calling me inward. Like it was time to make life small and quiet for a while. And I didn't know why. And I wasn't sad. I wasn't depressive. I mean, I was like, I needed to process the launch and how it happened, but it was something else. It was like, that was almost a catalyst into this quiet season of cocooning that I apparently needed, but had no idea that I did. And in this season, which was this summer, which it does feel like winter because in Arizona, which I live in Mesa, Arizona, it really is, summer is like our winter here because it's so dang hot. You just don't really go outside much. And so it does feel a lot like winter does in colder places. So it makes sense to kind of cocoon. It's very natural in the summer here. And so in my summer cocoon, I had a few really big moments. The first one was my youngest's first birthday happened. So May 24th was her first birthday. And that really kind of worked itself deeply into my bones. And it really got me asking questions about how I want to spend potentially the last child that we have, like her first 3 years of deep attachment to each other. I'm her person. My husband works full time. So like I'm her attached, secure relationship. And it really just got me thinking about what I want my work life to look like when I have a 1-year-old who still has, I mean, research tells us that it's the first 3 years of a human's life that they are establishing that just delicious connection that helps them have such a great life. And so I feel really committed to that. Obviously, I'm not going to, not take care of myself or stop doing things I love, but also it just made me think, can I approach my work in the world in a way that leaves me free during the days to be with this beautiful child that I just risked everything to carry? I mean, she came early, emergency C-section, preeclampsia. It got real messy there towards the end. And so, yeah, I just kind of made some sifting and some decisions there. And then I've kind of mentioned this before on this podcast, but I joined so I'll just briefly share that with the pandemic, my husband and he lost his job, and then we lost a company a small business that we had purchased. And then we were sued by the people that, once the government protections lifted, we were also sued. So basically we had like a financial devastation around 2021. And so it took us a couple years to even be able to like face what had happened because it was just so big. And I joined a nervous system program that is money focused. So it's called Relaxed Money with Kate Northrup. And I'm going to get an affiliate link because I absolutely adore the program. So I will definitely be sharing more later and you can sign up. She just opens once a year. So I'll get you a link for when she launches next. But anyway, in this program, this was another big part of my summer is every time we get on a call, we learn new nervous system healing tools and self-regulating tools that you can use like anytime during the day. And I thought I knew a lot of them, and I do know a handful, but this has just been even more, and they're all research backed and they're all like proven to actually calm you down. So, it's like hacking your nervous system. It's so great. Really great. And by the way, I teach nervous system healing tools in the online course. So if you want some of that and you want it postpartum specific, just get the LizzieLangston.com/course. You can look into that. All right, coming back. So I start doing these nervous system tools. And then right around that time, I randomly stumbled across a book on Amazon. And I'm not going to share the title of the book because it would kind of give away some of the things that I'm not willing to publicly talk about. But I will just say that this book, it was actually a series of 2 books, helped me interpret and make sense of a certain relationship in my life that has been a source of like confusion and pain for on and off for probably a lot of years. And with that clarity, though, there was a lot of shock because this book was essentially like one of those sort of like, if these things are happening, then this is, this is what that is. And it was just like, oh. And so it was both relieving, but extremely shocking because it was like once you knew it, you could never unknow it. And it changed everything for the better because it empowered me as an individual, but also it just took a lot of energy to process. And all of a sudden I see so many things and so many people differently. And so, yeah, it was a very defining moment for me. And so that also happened this summer. And in these books, as I was reading them, so there's like 3 phases you go through when you learn about this particular thing that I was learning about that had to do with like my life's experience. The second phase so first you learn about it and then you go into this cocoon phase. And it's like apparently a thing to be shocked and to have to take a lot of time to process and to make your life really small. And so I did that. And during my cocoon phase, which I didn't know right at first I was naturally doing it. Like I naturally cocooned. Come to find out, when you've been through what I've been through, that's literally part of the healing is you just cocoon and make your world small, really small. Highly recommend, by the way. But I read some really great books. So I wanted to share a couple titles with you. One of them is Starseed by Rebecca Campbell. And it wasn't immediately appealing to me. I like her a lot. It's just, I was kind of like, but I really felt called to it. A friend had mentioned it, or maybe twice I heard it. And so anyway, I read it in the evenings. Typically I listen to it, and I love her Australian accent, and it's so enlightening and cool and good and helps me understand myself so much. I also got into minimalism. I watched a minimalism documentary on Netflix. And then I also found this wonderful blogger mom. Her name is Madison with S-U-N, Madison Gray, Gray. And I will try and link her YouTube channel in the show notes. She also has a podcast, actually. She just started. But she talks all about slow living and slow motherhood and just slow life and like low stress life, and including your work in the world and everything. And that was just incredibly healing. Her videos are gorgeous, beautiful, but also not like overly perfect, just very real. And she's just such a balanced human being. It's been delicious to be in her presence there. Cal Newport is a new author I have discovered. Cal Newport wrote the very widely known book, Digital Minimalism. And I highly recommend reading that book and doing the 30-day social media cleanse. I actually was already doing that as part of my cocooning. I just deleted Instagram. I wasn't on Facebook for probably over a month. And then he does have you reintroduce those things, possibly, but really choose deliberately, which is what minimalism is all about. I'm currently reading as part of a book club with in-person moms around here. I'm so excited. I'm reading Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. And I downloaded an app on my phone, which I want to talk more about in a future episode. It's called Opal, and it's all about screen time management and digital minimalism. So that's basically the main points of the summer. But here's what I came out of that beautiful cocoon. And I'm very slowly and deliberately, like there's no rush. And I'm being very careful of what I take on, and how I do anything is just as important to me as what I am doing. But I think the thing that has been so wowing for me, just so completely, beautifully wow for me, is to recognize that what this deep cocoon season showed me is that my previous self, so from May and the launch into the past, so from like all of my life before that, especially my professional life, I was in and out of a state of financial dysregulation from the shock and trauma of what happened to us, my husband and I, and our company and our business during the pandemic. I actually quadrupled this business during the pandemic with a lot of support from mentors and like a mastermind and just women that were so good to help me. So my business carried us through, but that had its own underbelly, that whole thing, because like it was just such a change. I was being a full-time stay-at-home mom with just a few remote clients. And then all of a sudden I was serving, 14 to 20 clients privately day in and day out. And so anyway, what I'm trying to say is that all that, what I didn't realize that this summer cocoon taught me is that I was actually still in a trauma response, not in all aspects of my life, but in the financial realm because of the way we were sued, and they didn't care if people knew about it. Like they posted it in front of the people walking into our business. They were just really lame about it. And it was just so much money. And it was the last little bit of our savings that we had to give. And it was just crazy. It was so crazy. And I, through this money program, right, doing these nervous system tools specifically around money, once my money stuff started to get more regulated, it's not quite all the way there yet, but it's been incredible. I started to see how that energy of hustly, not feeling safe, because I didn't feel safe with money because it had all just disappeared and blown up in our face, right? And how that energy of not feeling safe was just leaking everywhere into my health, into my literally my body and pain in my body, into my mothering of my children and just being in a hurry and not feeling like I can make decisions that feel good to me as a mom, but that I need to make decisions that are what other people approve of and what they're doing, right? When we are thinking and making decisions from that place, that's dysregulation. We're not in our own self. We're not in our own power. We are giving our power out and away. So we're in a state of alarm or something. So that was my first big takeaway, is that I had no idea that I was financially dysregulated, and I have so much compassion. I'm literally, my hand is on my heart. And my other hand is on my womb because I have so much compassion for what we went through. And it was so scary. And we were living in Costa Rica, and not even close family knew about it. It was just, what do you do? Go around and tell people that you're getting sued and that you've just hit financial ground zero as 35-year-olds with 3 kids at the time. It's kind of heavy. You don't really say it around much. And so it was very private, and there was just depression we needed to work through, each of us, and grief and shock and all of it, right? Okay. I think you get it. And then this beautiful thing happened, which is that through the nervous system regulation around money and through getting rebalanced, and it wasn't just money. It was safety in my life. It was feeling safe, right? Typically when money stuff is a problem, the reason it's a problem isn't because of the money. It's because of our hierarchy of needs, like physical needs, emotional needs, a house, paying our bills so that we can live comfortably and be healthy and survive, essentially. And that felt really threatened when we went through what we did financially. And it was so cool and powerful in this whole money course experience to reclaim my sense of safety and to take it away from money and circumstances that can always change, and to really put it back into my own power. I get to control feeling safe no matter what money is doing, no matter what money did, no matter what money has done. And so it's just been so revolutionary for me. And I think the biggest shocker was that in my state of financial dysregulation, I actually didn't realize that one of the impacts of that is that sometimes I wouldn't make decisions in my business, the postpartum coach business, that were best for the business in the long game, because I would be, when we're not feeling safe, we're in sort of an urgent mode. And when we're in this urgent mode, we make decisions that are more short-sighted. And so even though they were decent decisions, they may not have been the most mature, best decisions for the company. And so I just can see so clearly now how that tone, that undercurrent that I had going on in my life of just threat and stress response from the lawsuit and everything during the pandemic was impacting everything. And okay, I've tried like 3 times to say what I'm about to say, so I'm just going to spit it out and wrap this thing up. It's getting late. It's like 10:30 p.m. So my brain is like, okay. My big golden takeaway though is, besides everything I said, is when I was in that sort of hustle mode, I really genuinely believed that having more money would bring me the feelings that I was looking to feel, like peace, stability, safety, comfort, and even like self-worth. And so through this nervous system healing that I've been doing, what I can honestly tell you is that it feels like a joke. It's like literally, if you just go into your body and you know how to find the stressed part of you and how to tend to her until she's not stressed anymore, the feeling that you get when you do that work for yourself is the feeling that I genuinely thought I would have when I had more money. Turns out money's not the savior here. Turns out I'm the one. You are the one. We are the only ones. Nobody's coming to do your work for you. It's all happening within your heart, within your mind, within your body. Your nervous system is the golden ticket. Your nervous system is how you reclaim the peace that you want, how you reclaim the happiness, the stability. And the thing with nervous system healing is it's not always linear. So I started this program, right? This money nervous system healing program back in May. I kind of didn't make tons of progress June, then July made lots of progress. Boom, boom, boom. I felt myself really shifting. And then the beginning of August, I totally got into a freeze response because I was approaching getting more clear with my financial numbers and life hours as a family than I ever have in my life. Literally, I never felt authority over our money. I always felt like it was my husband's, and I always felt like I wasn't good enough to ever manage it, which is so sad in hindsight. And so now that I was really stepping up and in my power financially, I had a massive freeze response. I just couldn't touch it. I couldn't do it. And so I've just been working with that for the last couple of weeks. It's so fascinating. But of course, where we glitch like that, where we freeze, where we fawn, where we feign, where we run away, flight, fight, freeze, all of that, that's because that's where our next level of power is. And I think we get scared of our power. Yep, because our power is threatening to the forces that want to oppress and control. So, my loves, there's so much more I want to share, but this is already really long. I'm going to let you go. I will see you right here next week. Be sure to follow the podcast. And please, I love hearing your feedback. I love hearing the ideas of topics you'd like me to cover. And so you can leave any requests for topics and any feedback you want to give to me or to other women who are researching, which podcast they want to give a try and spend time on. Your reviews matter. It's in your hands, the growth of this show and who it reaches and when and how. And so we just always appreciate a written review if you can leave one. Thank you, ladies. And ladies, that was weird. Thanks, moms. Thanks, gals, friends. I will see you guys right here next week. And again, you can go to LizzieLangston.com for any of the free resources. We'll talk soon.
Hey, Lizzie here.
I've helped dozens of postpartum moms just like you to manage their postpartum anxiety and deconstruct their postpartum depression. It's really easy for me. So if you're ready to feel better, I know the way. Let's chat on the phone. Set up a time by going to LizzieLangston.com/consult. It's pretty simple, and I will be calling you soon.